What happens when your morning begins with a childhood friend invading your bed and your day ends with the accidental touch of another friend? In Sakai's ordinary life, nothing ordinary remains. Our story begins with an unexpected encounter. Yanakasu, also known as Sakai, is an ordinary boy. He is a massive fan of romantic comedies, especially those stories where everyone likes each other. Usually, these stories feature childhood friends. In some versions, the girls are too shy to admit their feelings. In others, they are extremely bold and want to skip steps quickly. Although Sakai knows very well that this is all just fiction and that in real life things rarely work this way, he refuses to give up on this small hope. Reflecting on these very thoughts, he drifts off to sleep. Sometime later, he wakes up distressed, realizing that his bedroom window was open once again. Irritated, he starts shouting Shio's name, and she appears almost immediately. That is when he notices something even more surprising. She is lying in the same bed with him. The girl gives him an affectionate hug, using him like a body pillow. Honestly speaking, this wasn't exactly a bad situation. At many moments, her actions seem straight out of a romantic comedy. However, reality is a bit harsher. Instead of enjoying the moment, he picks her up, complaining that this is extremely inconvenient. The worst part comes when the eccentric girl wakes up and actually starts yelling at him, accusing him of invading her bed. Sakai tries to defend himself, stating that she was the one who entered his room without permission. Yet, according to her logic, it is Sakai's fault because he never got the window fixed. Tired of the argument, the protagonist simply tells her to leave. Since Shio is used to this routine, it makes no difference to her. Without wasting time, she decides to exit through the window, using it as a shortcut. At that moment, the wind blows hard, giving Sakai a beautiful view. This could have been seen as a positive thing, but the truth is they have been repeating this same ritual since childhood. He knows his friend is a bit unpredictable. There is always something a little out of place with her. Because of this, he tries to remain patient and attempts to make her realize when she is making mistakes. The problem is that she doesn't cooperate even a little bit. For example, when he leaves the house for school, trying to push away inappropriate thoughts, Shio is already waiting for him. She clings to him, stating that because they have been friends since childhood, there is nothing wrong with it. To Sakai, this becomes painful, primarily because his feelings are no longer that simple. On the other hand, Shio acts as if nothing is happening, insisting on keeping things strictly friendly. What Sakai doesn't imagine is that Shio is not as innocent as she looks. He fears that if Shio finds out he sees her as a woman, everything could change. Therefore, he decides to keep this secret at any cost. However, Shio seems to be doing everything on purpose. She teases him indirectly, even using her body, yet remains cold, pretending she hasn't noticed anything. This attitude frustrates him, although in a way it also motivates him to try and win her heart. Seizing the opportunity, Shio counterattacks, pretending she has sprained her ankle so that he will take care of her. Sakai sees no problem with this because he is used to it. She notices that Sakai carries a small first aid kit and asks for the reason. He explains that it is because Shio always gets into trouble, jumping from windows like a hero and getting hurt. For this reason, he is always prepared to help her. This attitude warms Shio's heart even more. When Sakai realizes that she isn't actually hurt, he stands up and says they can walk to school now. Without thinking too much, Shio grabs his hand. This makes them both extremely embarrassed because this isn't common between them. Still, Sakai accepts it, using the excuse that if he doesn't, she might be late, just like it used to happen in childhood, simply to ensure she doesn't feel hurt. Shio claims her ankle still hurts a little. Like a true gentleman, he doesn't abandon her, though in his mind, he thinks it will always stay like this, just childhood friends. Despite being so close, he feels they will never cross that line. They decide to keep walking, and when they reach the main street, they notice there are many people. Shio asks what other people must be thinking seeing them holding hands. Sakai gathers his courage and moves forward without caring. Yet, the entire way feels like a torture for his heart, which is beating fast due to embarrassment. Despite this, they share a special moment until suddenly someone shows up. Akari, another childhood friend, appears in front of them. Surprised, both immediately drop their backpacks. They tried to think of an excuse, but they realize Akari has already seen their interlocking hands. However, her surprise quickly turns into mockery. Akari decides to take a photo to send to both their mothers. While trying to hold her bag to take the picture, her hand begins to shake intensely. She claims it is just because she is laughing so hard, but when Sakai tries to help her, she gets irritated. Akari tells him to back off and warns him to be careful. Sakai is completely shocked, while Akari simply walks away, leaving both of them behind. Sakai tries to clarify the confusion, but only makes things worse. Without realizing it, he accidentally touches her chest and then her face, which is enough to completely embarrass her. Acting on impulse, she hits Sakai squarely in the face with her suitcase and scolds him, calling him a pervert. In the middle of the argument, Shio tries to explain that she was practically forcing Sakai to take her to school, and to everyone's surprise, this was exactly the truth. Slowly, Akari calms down and says they are both complete fools because they keep giving people the wrong impression. Then she leaves, abandoning Sakai and Shio. Both feel a strange sensation in their chests. They tried to convince themselves that the moment wasn't pleasant at all. Away from the eyes of others, Akari acts in a completely different way. She cannot stop herself from feeling fear. In a lonely moment, she pulls out something like a locket or a keepsake containing a photo of her and Sakai, thinking that deep down she believes they can still be together. She doesn't want Shio to move ahead, but whenever she tries, she acts impulsively, causing physical and emotional damage. This isn't something she does intentionally, she just can't avoid it. At the same time, Sakai also wants to change things. He wants to win his best friend's heart while trying to hide all the feelings growing inside him. Thus, the three become trapped in a strange love triangle. When classes resume, Akari and Sakai return to their old routine of constant teasing. The difference is that this time, she is not the protagonist of the story. To others, Akari is just an extremely annoying person, something that has always been true. They spend much of their time arguing over silly reasons. The one who usually tries to keep the peace between them is Shio, who is a friend to both. She always tries to make them understand each other, but they are like oil and water. Besides, she can't always be around. Curiously, Akari and Sakai spend a lot of time together because they sit next to each other in the classroom in an attempt to improve their relationship. Akari says she could be kinder if he begged, but Sakai answers in the same tone. Deep down, this bothers him, because when they were children, nothing like this happened. In the past, Akari rarely stayed away from him, but now they can barely consider themselves friends. Even studying in the same school, Sakai begins to question if this is truly a good thing. Still, like a true gentleman, he decides to swallow his pride and comments that they both chose that juice simply because it is truly tasty. Akari agrees, but quickly returns to her aggressive behavior, calling him an idiot all the time. But deep down, she feels even foolish. The truth is that Akari had made a great effort. She studied hard to get into the same school, bought the same things, and did everything to keep their topics common, all just to get his attention. Thinking about all this, both get thirsty and open their bottles at the same time. The scene is strangely similar, and both notice it while pretending to hate each other. When Sakai is about to drink, he notices something wrong. That wasn't his bottle. Akari tries to warn him, but it is too late. For him, it feels like an indirect kiss, forcing his mind to imagine them together, which makes her extremely embarrassed. Still, she tries to remain calm and turns the situation into teasing, asking if a silly thing like drinking from the same bottle really bothered him. Noticing that Sakai has turned red, Akari insists further, and without any filter, asks him if he is still a virgin. Sakai is completely shocked by the question and decides to counterattack, asking if she already has experience. This embarrasses Akari, but she answers yes, saying that real kisses are no big deal anymore. Sakai and Akari enter a mutual provocation that eventually leads toward the possibility of a kiss. Despite the huge embarrassment for both, the situation gets complicated when Sakai admits he lied about his experience and reveals that he has never kissed anyone. Instead of mocking him, Akari becomes happy knowing that it would be his first time with her too, and she gets excited to kiss him. However, this moment is interrupted by Shio's unexpected arrival, causing confusion and embarrassment, especially when a childish side of Akari is revealed. As time passes, Sakai finds himself at the center of the attention because he has two childhood friends who are very close, which awakens envy and teasing from other boys. Shio, despite noticing his discomfort, doesn't give up and remains affectionate, even creating embarrassing situations in public. Akari appears again and tries to impose limits, but in the end, she joins the teasing too. Everything turns into a competition between the two. The situation spirals out of control until Sakai has to push them away, for which both the girls apologize. Despite the chaos, he begins to be seen as an admirable person by his classmates, while Akari and Shio remain determined to win his heart.